You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, January 15th, 2023, about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. You saw the webcam shot. And we are continuing our playthrough of the play-by-mail game, The Case of the Blinded Birder, by MurdersByMail.com. We're on turn 5. We've gotten reply 4 in the mail. Looks like the replies are coming in a little more timely now, which is good because we won't miss weeks. I see the chat is here. Let me just check in with everyone, see how everyone's doing. This will be a short stream, about an hour. If you haven't watched the previous 4 turns, you should stop watching this. Watch those. They're only an hour each. You'll catch up and you'll be able to join us next week. Before we review where we are, let's just do a little bookkeeping. If anyone's up to anything interesting lately, you can let us know on the chat. So bookkeeping. Tonight at 11 p.m., we will be continuing and concluding, hopefully, our playthrough of File on Fenton and Farr. This is the 1937 crime dossier game. It's been quite exciting to go back in time and try this game. We played for 7 hours on Friday night. We skipped Saturday, and we'll finish up tonight, and then we'll review it and talk about it. Again, you shouldn't join for the first session tonight. If you're just joining this, you should watch yesterday's session first. The reason we didn't continue it on Saturday is because Saturday Greg and I got together and we played some games and filmed something. We filmed a review of The Animals of Baker Street. That's the game behind me here somewhere. This is a Dave Neal game aimed at a younger audience. So we reviewed it with an eye towards a younger audience. That'll be up, I think, tomorrow. And I still owe you guys a review, a spoiler-free review of the Queen's Park affair. That'll be coming soon. And before we start, I thought we would do a little tea taste testing. Now, and you guys in the channel can let me know what projects you're working on. So the tea I normally drink is a black tea, Twining's Christmas tea of all things. But this is another tea that I really do like. It's coconut cocoa coffee from the Republic of Tea, and it comes in these little round tea bags that you can just drop in and leave in. And it's low caffeine, almost decaffeinated. And so this is what I'll drink if I want a decaf tea. And I was thinking, there's a channel there's 2 channels I talk about all the time here on this channel. One, and they're all I talk about with a mixture of cringe, admiration, and some other bad stuff. But this one coffee channel, Hoon's Coffee, he'll read the bag, and the bag will say, notes of lemonade, pomegranate, and South African cherry. And he'll taste it. And he goes, yep, there's the raspberry, there's the lemonade, there's the cherry. Is it South African? Yeah, South African cherry, I can taste it. Then he'll look and go, oh, I was drinking the wrong bag. Here's the right bag. It's got smoke and salami. Oh yeah, now it's coming through. And it's not that it's fake, it's just that it's I think we're dealing with some very suggestible people, but he's getting out of it those flavors once he thinks they're in there. But on the other side of the coin of the bad taste tester is someone like me who tastes it and doesn't know how to describe what they're saying, and so just says it tastes good. So I'm not quite sure how exactly to describe the taste. if you didn't know it was coconut and cocoa, I'm not sure you would be able to pick up those flavors. It tastes interesting. Once you're told there's a little bit of coconut, you can kind of taste it. And then the cocoa, it does remind me, there are a couple of seltzers that are cola-based, calorie-free, without any sugar-free stuff. And there's one by La Croix, which is a cola one, and then there's another one by Pellegrino or something. And there's something very interesting about those unsweetened cola flavors. They taste kind of soury, but if you're a drinker of coffee or dark chocolate, you sort of appreciate that little taste. So anyway, I would recommend this coconut cocoa if you're looking for a low caffeine tea. Worth trying. And I think Greg tried this yesterday and hated it. This is not going to be for everyone, but I would recommend the cola and I would recommend this. All right, so catching up with the chat here. Matt's still watching episodes of Thriller and an HBO show called Perversions of Science from the 90s. Don't know it. Water's been watching Person of Interest. Interesting. Song of the Lute, who comments on my YouTube videos frequently and was talking about Fenton and Farr, has made it to the channel. That's one of the nice things about playing these games, doing these live streams in the afternoon. We get people who couldn't normally make it. And Tina says, watch the last arc of Bleach. Boy, Bleach sounds familiar, but I'm not sure I know what it is. Debbie Levy says, I like Pukka herbal teas. My wife likes the chamomile tea. I have Bleach is anime, that's right. My favorite animes are Monster, Death Note, Parasite, but I haven't watched Bleach. All right, let's look at our letter 4 here. So this is a reminder of where we sent people. We sent Imogen to visit this person, Vicnair, who's off here. Now, why did we send Imogen in this corner, lower right corner of our map down here? Because she's got a dog, and we decided to have her visit the dog walkers there's 3 dog walkers that saw a ghost, some weird thing, near the archaeological digs, which we're very suspicious of. And specifically we sent her to Vicnair because he said, I wonder if it was the ghost of the Albright guy who died. That's our case, Albright. And he says that they often saw Albright walking down there near the dig. And we thought, well, that's too good a lead to pass up. So we sent them around this. This is where they saw him and walked the dogs. They saw him near these stones. So we went to his house, which is here. We finally caught up with him in our last mail. And we know that he's short on money. And we know he was having some weird conversation with this lady in a tea shop, and it turns out he was selling some pottery, and we'd wonder if it wasn't some illegally obtained pottery, maybe from the archaeological dig. So that's the lead we're pursuing there. We know he was short on money. You'll have to watch the other streams if you don't know how he died, but that's the person we're tracking down. Okay, and then we sent the vicar to the nearby theater here where his fellow choir singers are. We're told that probably they don't know anything, so I'm not... the only main reason we sent him here is that these are all related to the church, and he was down here anyway, and we figured, we'll just follow up this last lead. It was also in the newspaper, so that was kind of compelling. Anything that's in the newspaper is a little bit compelling. So because of those combination of facts, we sent him down here to this concert, and we didn't want to miss it. You know, we're treating these things as if they're time sensitive. And then Cecily, we sent off the map. This is the first time we've seen something like this in this game, where we've got this map of Bockerley and stuff, where all this happened. And we're told in one of our letters here, it was, we went to his birding club, and we were told about two good friends he has. One is a man named Paul Ridge, and one is a woman named Charlotte Nice, who this person who owns this birder shop thinks fancies him. And our primary goal for the last couple turns has been to find the woman he was colluding with to sell this, to do something illegal, we think. We know that's not Charlotte Nice, but we thought, well, if Charlotte Nice fancies him, maybe she will know this woman he's hanging out with and be jealous of her. So let's go to our places. Where is the knife to open it up? Okay. Always see these people on these YouTube channels with their fancy knives. They always open them up with such fanfare. All right. All right, we're going to start with Cecily, I guess. Cecily did not get my memo about typing her next reply. She's still writing in script, unfortunately. All right, let's try to read this together. I'm going to use my glasses. L4 Charlotte Nice. Dearest Jessie, Charlotte Nice lives with her elderly parents on a farm in Lickenford, and when I tracked her down, she was just coming in from the milking plump and homely. She regarded me with powerful distrust. Hello, I called. My name is Cecily. I'm so very sorry to interrupt your work. I spoke with your father at the house, and he suggested I'd find you in the pasture. Could I get a few minutes of your time, dear? About what? She asked. Rupert Albright, I said. I understand the two of you were friends. Well, said Charlotte, her frown deepened under hardened eyes. I thought we were. I met him at a birding field day in Bockerley. There's a shop there called Abel's that puts them on. It was my first time, and I was nervous. I noticed him at the edge of things and acting nervous himself, so I thought I'd talk to him. He was polite and knowledgeable about his birds and their music. Over the coming weeks, he took me out watching several times. We grew close, or so I thought. Well, what happened? I asked. Well, about 6 weeks ago, he stopped coming to Abel's. I was worried about him, so I went to his house. He met me at the door and explained that he wasn't interested in birding anymore, and therefore didn't understand why we should even see each other again. This wounded me a great deal. I was so angry. I watched how her hands had turned to fists. Yes, very angry she was. Charlotte, can you tell me where you were the night that Rupert was shot? No, I see how it is. She gave me a nasty look. I was at the train station dropping off my Aunt Alice. We'd missed her afternoon departure, and so I waited there with her until the evening train left at 10 o'clock. Station master will remember. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot of work to do. Okay, well, we didn't really get any good leads here. she says she's at the train station. We could check her alibi if we had any real suspicion that she did this. Of course, we really don't. But it is interesting that he suddenly lost all interest in birding. What's that about? He wasn't interested in birding anymore. Okay, so I guess that's quite a clue, actually. Why is that such a good clue for us? There's a couple ways to read this. All right, let's hear what the chat thinks. Okay, so Jan makes the point that occurred to me. If it's true that he wasn't interested in birding anymore, what was he doing when he was shot if he wasn't birding? Now, that's what I thought too. That seems pretty good idea. ME agrees, confirms he wasn't birding when he was shot, although it did just occur to me that there is an alternative explanation. What's the alternative explanation? Everyone says, even Anna, he wasn't looking at birds then. But you guys are missing something. What's an alternative explanation that we're going to have to keep in mind? She goes, she knocks on his door. She says, why aren't we hanging out anymore? He says, I don't do birding anymore. So that's the other alternative, that he's still birding up a storm. He just doesn't really want to bird with Charlotte. So yeah, I'm just going to put a little annotation. I'm going to say true ? If it's true, which was all of our first instinct was that we've learned an interesting fact that he doesn't care about birding. But maybe he's just trying to get rid of her. And we're told she's quite angry, so maybe you might suspect her, but the person who shot him is a very good shot with a pistol, right? So probably this is not just going to be a run-of-the-mill person. Now, the way we got her lead is we went to Abel's. Now, did Abel mention anything about him not coming in birding for the last couple weeks? Turns into one of those types that's always in your store, never buys anything. Rupert Albright. He was always about talking birds with the lads, not a regular customer. This guy doesn't mention that Albright has not been coming in recently, so, okay. Let me just find the angry part. Okay. Interesting. Senshai says, if I'm pronouncing that name right, you should correct me if I'm not. If he was giving her the cold shoulder, though, something happened to cause that. Could be another lead. Janai says, can we read it as they were watching birds before, so he was really birder until something? Oh, he was definitely a real avid birder. He used to buy stuff at the birding shop, and he's got another friend. So if we want to know if he really did stop birding, the other person we could talk to is his good friend that he went birding with that we learned about before, which is here. He's got two friends, we're told, Paul Ridge and Charlotte, who fancied him. This little thing got the strong sense she fancied him. This is already a suggestion that it might not be reciprocated by him. So it wouldn't be so crazy to think that he lost interest in her. But if we were curious if he stopped birding, Paul Ridge would be the person to talk to about that. So we might want to talk to Paul Ridge to find that out. But let's go back. Chat says, and someone reminds me that I should probably circle the part about 6 weeks. That's quite important if it's right, if it's true. 6 weeks ago. That's a long time ago, but that might be a nice, interesting date to know about, right? 6 weeks. Remember, the guy at the shop says he used to have money, but then he stopped having money. Do we know when he stopped having money? He just says, sometime last year, I got the feeling his money had tightened. I forget if we know anything that happened 6 weeks ago. That's a good point, though. Let's make a note of that in our notes. We haven't been keeping many notes of this case, but let's make a note. All Actually, on this one here, let's make a note. 6 weeks ago, stopped birding. Question mark. Okay. This is our letter 4. Okay. When did he have the tea with the other woman? Anna says maybe it was the dig that started 6 weeks ago. When was the auction? Yeah, we know for sure he ran out of money. Everyone agrees with that. When was the auction? Here was the auction thing. Remember when Imogen went and talked to the guy and she says, you know, like, what did he auction? The guy's like, I can't tell you. And she just says, I'm not leaving until you tell me. And he eventually tells her, let's see. I must insist. Okay, so he says, a few weeks ago. So a few weeks ago, he came in to auction the pottery, the artifact from the early Iron Age. Could coincide with the pottery scheme to make money. Remember, the preacher said he was involved in something illegal. Okay, I could match up. When did he have tea with the other woman? Was the other question in the chat? Let's see. When did we have him having tea? Okay, so here's the part where he had tea with this mystery woman, Kathleen, that we can't locate. We've been trying to locate. Pretty in a bony way, blonde hair, big eyes. A month back, we're told. A month back. That seems to be matching this 6-week time frame. Like 6 weeks ago, he comes across this pottery or he thinks up some scheme. He stops birding and he starts focusing on his scheme. That feels pretty good. Song of the Lute asks if we have a timeline. We haven't been really keeping great notes for this, so we probably should. Maybe I'll just add these notes we just found. So 1 month ago was the auction, and then several months ago was the money troubles. This is Albright. This was Cecily 4, and then it's always important, these things, to write down where you've got the information from so that you can re-reference it. One, two, three. This is number 3 and number 3. Okay. So 6 months ago, several months ago, he had money trouble. 1 month ago, the auction. 6 weeks ago, he stopped birding or dumped his girl. I guess either way. Either way. What was the few weeks ago? A few weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, he stopped birding. Was it a few weeks ago that the auction was, not 1 month ago? Few weeks ago auction. Okay, not 1 month ago, but a few weeks. Okay, so if we have more timeline stuff, we'll fill it in later. Okay, let's move on. I was hoping she was going to know. I was hoping this woman was going to know about the other woman, the blonde, big, bony woman. Okay, let's read the Vickers thing, because we didn't have much high hope for this guy's report. When I arrived at the graceful arch of the outdoor Beam Theater, the St. Egwine's choir was just concluding their practice. 24 citizens of all shapes and sizes harmonized at their best in a mix of day clothes. I didn't recognize the hymn, it was Catholic, but I can say it was very sad and beautiful. The director, a slim, attractively dressed woman with a spine as straight as a rail, is this our blonde, bony woman? Gave the singers some final instructions, then bid them good day and began gathering her music into a briefcase. As the crowd dispersed, I saw my opening and advanced, plan in mind. Mother always told me I was a lovely singer, even if some of my congregate disagree. There's no better way to attract the attention and trust of a musician than by demonstrating one's own talent. Positioning myself behind the lady, I cleared my throat and sang the last few measures of her hymn. Eyes closed, notes perfect, emotion on full display, and I dare say haunting. I did not know the words, of course, lucky for me. Improvisation. When I opened my eyes, she was staring at me. She stammered, "Can I help you, Vicar?" "Such a lovely song," I said. "So very pretty, yet so very sad." "Yes." "Understand, I'm not here to audition," I said, wanting to make that clear. She looked relieved. No, I don't imagine you are. A song such as this, you must be singing it for Mr. Albright." She paused, curiosity growing on her face. "Yes, it's our tiny way of memorializing him. Did you know, Rupert?" I explained to her about our inquiry, and she listened with interest. "Rupert was the loner type," she said. "He didn't share much about himself. He would engage heartily in discussions of the music, but that was about it." "Was he liked?" She considered it. "Well, I hate to speak ill of the dead, but I can't say he was popular. Though only an adequate singer himself, he did possess a quality ear and never hesitated to offer a spirited critique." That was interesting. I knew the sting of having people critique one's singing. "That must have rubbed some people the wrong way," I said. "Oh, it did." She tapped her toe and thought it through. Earlier in the season, Rupert was endlessly prodding at the sopranos, telling them to get on key, to better keep up with tempo, that sort of thing. I tried to intervene, but he wasn't the sort to back down. It got so bad that one of them, Kathleen, nearly quit. She said I ought to kick him out of the choir, or that she was going to leave. Yeah, so what happened? Well, she didn't quit in the end. I'm not sure how, but they managed to patch things up. After practice one day, I saw them go to the tea shop across the street. We found our Kathleen. They got a table together and looked like they were having an intense conversation. Next practice, he completely stopped badgering her about her singing. Well, we found her, but we didn't get her name. We didn't get her last name. Kathleen. There she is. But we didn't get her name. We didn't get her last name. Did we get any information that will let us find her? She just tells her about the tea shop, so clearly we're talking about the same people, same woman. Kathleen. How is she described here? At the Sopranos, I tried to intervene. It got so bad that one of them, Kathleen, okay, so we know she's a soprano. That's all we know here. And that she was in the choir. She still is in the choir. Senchai thinks he has something about perfect pitch. Maybe he was signaling to someone. How are we going to find Kathleen if now that we know she's a soprano? I mean, this is the only place we know about the choir. Is that right? Or is that not right? Do we know something else about the choir? We might want to reread when he went into the church originally to talk to the preacher. Let's just look at that again. And they patched things up. Okay, let's look through again where he talked to the preacher. Maybe the preacher did tell us a little bit more about the choir, where they normally practice or something. So in his previous visit, he went to St. Egwene's church, where this choir is from. They're practicing the choir. Albright sang in your choir. And then he says, the preacher of that Catholic church says, which of the choir showed up for the funeral? The baritone boys performed a thing. And then the choir's practicing at the Besham. That's where we just went. We were just at the Besham. I'd really like to ask them where this Kathleen hangs out. It just tells us everything we already knew. They went to the tea shop across the street and they patched things up. Is there anything else in the news about singers? That's the concert. We went to that. Announcements. Antiquities, missing dog, help wanted. I'm not sure there's any good way to find her. We just have to keep our eye open. There's no Sopranos Club anywhere, is there? Let's see. We've got a couple of informants, allies. Coroner, reporter, historical society, the library stacks. Doesn't feel like they're likely to know about Bank of Bakro. We know he had a bank account we were curious about. There's no Sopranos Club. I think we may just have to try to run into her. I mean, it may just help us recognize her when we see her. Is there any other club for singers or something? Entertainment. We went to the theater. We went to Abel's. There's a music hall. Theater. That seems like a long shot. Social clubs. Not really. Well, we're just going to have to keep our ear open for her. Anna had a question about where did we overhear? Well, we went to the tea shop. We overheard the mother talking about it. We went to the tea shop and we overheard him talking to her and bossing her around and telling her about do your job regarding the auction. So it was actually quite, seemed quite significant. Well, let me just show it to you here. So Big Mabel overheard them at the tea shop. As she was leaving, he called to her and after her and said, "The auction's not your problem, Kathleen. It's mine. You just do what you're told." So, and then we know he sold that thing at the auction. So it sounds like he's got her working with him on this auction scam. Although why she would work with him, we don't know. This could actually help us on timeline, though, because it seems like at this point, she's trying to get him to quit, to fire Albright. So when was that? Earlier in the season, Rupert was endlessly prodding at the Sopranos. So maybe this could go in our timeline information. Because obviously at this point, they weren't working together. So earlier in season, Kathleen not friends with him. So this was before they were doing this, whatever they were doing. Well, it's a shame that we didn't catch on to her. Okay, well, let's read our last clue. This, he's quite a character. He thinks himself, he's a little naive. He thought she would like his singing. Okay. Sensei is really locked on to some theory about someone that could imitate specific bird calls. Like, is that why he wants the soprano? That's a very interesting sort of conspiracy theory. I wonder if it's true. I'm not sure though. Okay, but we'll keep it in mind. Okay, here we go. Imogen is talking to the person that saw the ghost, maybe Albright, but has seen Albright walking around near the dig. So let's see what Imogen and little dog Wooster found. Dear Jesse, Mr. Ballard Vicknair agreed to accompany me on a dog walk. I brought Wooster, and Mr. Vicknair brought his wolfhound, Arthur. The dogs took to one another right away, play bowing and yipping. It gave Mr. Vicknair and I an immediate trust in the wonderful way that pets often do. I forget who it was in the channel early on said, make sure you send the woman with the dog, Imogen, to visit the other dog walkers. And that looks like it was clearly the right thing because he immediately trusts her. I feel like we're going to get some extra information we might not have. So why are you interested in our ghost story? He asked us as we began our stroll. It was really the mention of Rupert Albright that caught our eye, I explained, then told him about our inquiry. Oh, that's interesting work, he said. Albright, last couple months, me and the girls encountered him on our pre-dawn walks past the cemetery. The girls are the ladies I walk Arthur with. Not girls at all. Frightfully old women, in fact. Paper mentioned 'em. We're doggin' friends, me and the girls. Is that a word, doggin'? Any case, I'll say it is, and say that Albright was among the graves a few times early in the morning. Bird watching, I assume, I said. Are there birds to see before dawn? He yanked Arthur out of a bush and shrugged. Birds to hear, maybe. Last time we seen him, he was carrying a strange contraption, like a metal box with dials on it. And it were tied to a cord of sorts that went up to some headphones. Like a radio set the Air Force boys wear. He's got a metal detector is what he's got. He was carrying this contraption and listening. Just listening. Strangest thing. And one of the girls asked him if he was listening to the birds with it, and he says back to her, something like that. Bit rude about it, to be honest. Certainly a strange lad. Seems you've encountered a lot of strangeness on your walks, I said. The ghost, you mean? Well, not sure what else to tell you about it. We seen it back over there to the north, right near the old Squire stones. Just for a flash, figure crouching toward the ground, then disappeared just as fast. Me and the girls have argued it through. They say it was a woman, but if so, she was wearing clothes like a man. Trousers. Trousers on a ghost. Why, I ask you, would a lady ghost wear trousers? That's the letter from Lady Imogen. So I think he was carrying around a metal detector. Metal box with dials. Cord that went up to headphones. Although it doesn't say it was touching the ground, and probably in those days he would know what a metal detector is, so maybe it wasn't metal detector. I'll just put metal detector, maybe? Something like that? Something to help him find... Remember, they're searching for iron. The iron is this dig site. There's all this talk about the Iron Age stuff, so I wonder if he isn't searching for Iron Age stuff with a metal detector. But he would have mentioned that, right? He would have mentioned if it was like a broom, a stick on the ground. So probably not then. Probably not a metal detector. But still, he could be trying to search for Iron Age stuff in the ground. Just don't know why he wouldn't mention that part of it. Has anyone seen the Detectorists show? It's a very sweet show. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. It's a couple of seasons. It's a very sort of quirky, sweet show. I highly recommend it if you can get your hands on it. It's probably from the 2000s somewhere. Debbie says there was something in the paper about radio interference from the RAF. Yes, there was. Maybe we should read that article. I don't think we've read this yet. Let's take a look at this article and read it, and then we'll talk a little bit more. RAF stays mum on interference during radio concert. Number of Netherwellow residents had their favorite BBC music broadcast interrupted by radio interference last Monday night. The program was Lucozade Showtime, live from the London Palladium, which begins at 8 o'clock. From approximately 8:13 to 8:28, according to witnesses, the music was overpowered by a high-pitched noise that rendered the broadcast unlistenable. George Sable, proprietor of the Sable drugstore, was one of the affected. "We always play the program at the store," says Sable, "as we are the only local source of the delightful Lucozade sucrose drink. And I'm sad to say the music was just ruined. But the Lucozade was still perfectly delicious," he added with a wink. And at the exact time of the interference, Sable heard a slow-moving airplane flying circles over the Croydon Royal Air Force Field just north of Netherwellow. "I've heard rumors they're trying out some classified radar equipment," said Sable. "And wouldn't you know, once the airplane landed, the music came right back." Officers at Cryerton declined to comment on Mr. Sable's theory, stating only that they do not discuss operations at the airbase. So, just to remind you, well, we've got an exact time here, and he says it's a plane, and he thinks it's radar equipment. So, to remind you where that is, there's the Air Force Base. There's the cemetery where the ghost was seen, totally opposite side of town. And then this guy's drugstore is somewhere in Netherwell, in here somewhere, for what it's worth. I don't know that that's much use to us. It really feels like whatever Albright was doing was probably searching the digs to steal stuff. And unrelated to the radar, if I had to guess. Let's check in with the chat. Has anyone said that they've watched The Detectorists, is what I want to know. It's a British show, I believe. If you're under the weather, you drink Lucozade. They're still making, huh? I don't know if I've ever had it. Anna's very curious about the contraption. Does everyone agree it wouldn't be a metal detector because they would say something about it? Like they're obviously... He would recognize a metal detector, probably, right? Nicola asks a great question. Is there some shop of electronic equipment in the directory? That's a really nice idea. Let's see what we've got here. That's a very good idea. Okay. Professional services, stores. Let's see what we've got here. We've got cameras and film, newsstand, department stores, watches, radios. That's interesting. Look, there's even an ad for it. That's a little bit suspicious. Like radios, electronics, televisions. I like this idea of Nicola, was it? Yeah, this is a very promising idea, if you ask me. If we want to know what that contraption is, I wouldn't be surprised if that's it. Now, where's he getting the money for that? Jewelry, tobaccos, guns. Guns is interesting, too. Sporting goods, lumber, art gallery, books. Okay. I like that thinking. Let's make sure we don't forget to go there at some point. B26. You might even put it here so we don't forget. All right, let's see what the chat is thinking here. Senchai loves Lucasade. There's a Christmas special this year. The show stopped a few years ago. Okay. Archaeology, there's a machine they use in the ground to find objects, but I thought it was a modern machine. I think it's called a geo device. Anna says, it looks like he was listening to something to that thing and not searching. Anna thinks this is in reply to, was it a metal detector? Well, you know, when you have a metal detector, they wear the... at least in the show, The Detectorists, they're wearing the headphones. They're listening to when it's picking up sounds instead of looking at the dial. Debbie says, money from selling stolen antiques, using it to buy listening, spying equipment, running out of money. Anna says, I'm turning in now. Need my sleep before part 2 of Fenton and Farr. Jan says, and then if he was on some listening expedition gathering equipment, it could not be a one-time transmission. Well, okay, there's an easy way to sort of resolve this question. I think we should go to this electronics shop. I like this idea. But we've got a bunch of places we want to go. Where do people want to go? What does the chat think were good places to go? We haven't been keeping a great list of all our candidates. We've sort of just been writing on our notes. We're going to have to, maybe between streams, we'll try to do a better job of writing all the candidate places. But let's talk them out here. We can go to the electronics store, which was fun because it was a clever idea by Nicola. So I think we should go there and see if we can find out if this guy's bought this thing. We could go... Okay, so that's a good candidate for us. We could visit this other friend of his, Paul Ridge, to find out if he really had stopped birding 6 weeks ago, although we could also just assume that was probably going to be true. We could go to Remember His Bank to see who bought the pottery. That doesn't seem as useful, but it could be. There's an ad for the bank. We don't have a good way to find that woman, Kathleen, which I'm not happy about. We could visit... We could visit the dig. That was the other place. And Tina says, is the mention of the RAF enough for us to go there? I don't think it is. I don't think we're ready to go to the RAF. We don't have any good knowledge of that. But we've got a bunch of places at the archaeological dig we wanted to go to. We wanted to go to the visitor center, and we wanted to go to the stones where he was found walking around. So those are 4 good candidates to me. Let's decide which of the 3. So we've got the other friend who used to go birding with, the electronics store, the visitor's site of the dig, and then the stones near the dig where our guy was seen walking around with that contraption. So those are 4 places. Shall we just hit that metal detector thing hard? Let's go to the stones, the visitor center, and the electronics store. Let's really chase down this lead of what he was doing in this area. We'll go to the electronics store, see what he was listening with. We'll go to the actual site where he was listening to see if we see anything there, and go to the visitor center to learn a little bit more about what they're finding there and if there's any crime going on there. ME says, don't go to the stones, go to the other friend. Okay, that's an option too. All right, what's the... Song of the Lute suggests we send Wooster to the stones to look for clues. I love it. And to pick up a scent. Great idea. Okay, so we're going to send Wooster to the stones. And we'll send the vicar to the electronics shop, maybe. He's kind of a funny guy. Since the electronics shop, we're told that the vicar's sort of naive. People might put one past him. But there's nothing to put past him at the electronics store. And maybe the electronics guy will be more inclined to speak to him thinking he's harmless. And none of our people are good at technology, I don't think. Let's look at their specialties again. Cecily is good at knowing human nature, noticing details, being stubborn. Imogen is fast driver, rich, and her Wooster sniffs out clues. And the vicar is gentle, patient, and naive. So I think we send Wooster to the stones. I like that. And then we can send the vicar to the electronics shop. It's fun having him interact with store people. And then I guess we send Cecily either to the friend or to the visitor center. So what's it going to be? Emmy says the friend completes the obvious known associates. All right, let's do it. Let's send Cecily to the other friend. She picks up on people. She'll pick up if he's lying, etc. Okay, I like it. I like it. Yeah, we might need Cecily's skills at sort of sussing people out. So let's send her to the other friend. All right, is everyone okay with that? then at least we'll nail down this thing, whether he really did stop birding. And maybe the other friend has some insight into him too. He might even know. No, he's not going to know where Kathleen is. Okay, we're all on board. All right, let's get out our book and make our moves here. Okay, so Imogen with Wooster is going to the stones. That's E23. They're called the Squire Stones. And we're hoping Wooster can sniff something out. Okay, Vicar is going to B26, which is DJ Clark's electronics and radio. And then Cecily is going to the other friend, Paul Ridge, which is L11. Was she... Oh, that makes complete sense. We should have even thought about this logically. Like, Cecily had already left town to visit Charlotte. So Cecily was already in Wickenford. So it makes complete sense, thematically, that we would send her next door to Paul Ridge, also in Wickenford. Paul Ridge. So that's yet another reason to do that, rather than bring her back to go to the visitor center and send her back to Wickenford. Okay. Great choices. Love it. Okay. Let's bring up our little tablet here. If you're curious about the tablet and these different components that I've got here, you can watch my recent video on gadget update for YouTube that I posted on the channel, or my original video series. You guys don't need to see this. Okay. Closed all this down. Sorry, normally I open this up before we play. All right. Case of the Blinded Birder. Okay, Cecily is going to L11. Imogen is going to E23. Vicar, B26. Okay, here we go. Send move. There we go. Could the ghost be a projected image made with a device of some kind? I think we got a clue from that guy that the ghost was actually a woman in trousers. I don't know why they thought it was a ghost. Was it? It's an interesting question though. Like, it's not going to be a ghost. Could have been a projected image, but why? Isn't it more likely that they may have seen something that was a real person and just thought it was a ghost? Why? What is it? Let's see. What did they see? Witnessed dancing lights and the ghostly form of a person. Dancing lights and a ghostly form of a person. The dogs noticed her first. They started pulling and whining. We look up there. She is floating back in the trees. She circled and stopped and knelt over. Huh. Weird. That's pretty weird. I don't know how to explain that. Obviously not a real ghost. One thing to consider for next time regarding Kathleen, Egwene's Coral Society is listed under social clubs. Well, that's pretty serious. Social clubs, Egwene's Coral Society. Wow, I wish we had seen that before, because that sounds very promising to find Kathleen. All right, let's make a note here. We'll go to that next time for sure, I think. Choral Society. That might be Kathleen. You might be able to find. You might have found Kathleen. N58 directory. Good find. Yeah, that's a very good catch. Debbie says, I mentioned it earlier, but I think you missed it. Yes, I must have missed it. Sorry. I feel bad I missed it because, well, actually, it's good. That seems like that's going to be a good catch to get her. So maybe it's nice that for a little suspense, that we've put it off and you did catch her. Okay. All right. And this was a good turn. This case continues to be quite compelling. I'll put markers on the map of the places we went later. And I'll see you next week on Sunday for our turn 6. So far, so good. Keep up the great work. Everyone's doing a great job here. See if you can catch the Detectorists somewhere. I don't know. Maybe someone can tell us where they found it, if they can find it streaming. I think there's 3 seasons. It's a very sweet show. And try the cocoa and coconut tea from Tea of Republic. For those of you who are joining me tonight for the much longer stream, part 2 of Fenton and Farr, if you haven't watched the first one, you've got 7 hours. You could catch up in time if you start watching part 1 now, but then you won't get any sleep. So I don't know if that's a good idea. I will see you next time.